Once again, it's wonderful to see everyone filing in as the names line up, and sweet notes people are sending also. Several people have made comments about my shirt before we start. I like the spring cherry blossoms. This is exactly when they would be blooming in Japan. Um, the color for morning, in the West is black, but in Japan it's white. So it's a good combination, I think, for today and for our time. It's time for us to begin, so I will ring the bell to allow us to sit together in our cloud zendo for just 5 minutes to settle, appreciating the energy that's arriving as everyone does arrive. In Japanese Zen, the word sesshin, or sesshin, some people say, is the name for an intensive retreat in a Zen temple or monastery. And one of the translations of that Japanese word, sesshin, is to collect the mind, heart and mind, to collect the heart, to collect the mind. And it's what I think of when I watch the numbers of the participants mount up as we arrive. We're collecting ourselves to be together. So here's the bell. So I hope that wherever you are, you'll take a moment to sit in some upright, attentive way. It's not just waiting until the bell rings again. It's an active offering of yourself to the moment. You don't have to engage in anything particular other than a sense of presence. And it's a small ceremony to honor your own Buddha nature, which we'll speak about today for just a few moments. As we continue to sit together for just a few more minutes, I hope that you'll appreciate, with just your gentle attention, your own breath. Having moved through what we've moved through with my mom and my sister and my dad this past week, attention to subtleties of breathing has taken on a new kind of meaning and immediacy, a new kind of intimacy. So please appreciate your own breath without manipulating it. Just rest in it and with it. Appreciating that you have breath. Something so difficult for COVID patients around also. But just simply sitting with your own rhythm of your own breath. And if you'll chant along with me in your own space. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. For those of you that might not be so familiar with the verse of the robe that we chant in the beginning of inquiry, our repetitive chanting, which we do, may help you learn it and be more familiar with it, and maybe it will unfold a bit of its meaning for you as we go forward. I did want to say that this beautiful little bell that you hear, I don't know if you'll be able to see because it's a little difficult, but you can maybe see that there's an engraving on it. And the engraving is for Aaron's father, Bud Curtis, who died in April 15th of 2011. So I'd had this made for Aaron, and so when we ring it, it's another reminder of a beloved father who's gone, or all the beloveds that we miss. In my reflection today, I thought I like to open the gates wider than just my particular experience, but I also can't avoid it. So I thought we'd bring it together. And once again, in conversations with our head student in England, Trudy Johnston, she was reminding me of a teaching that I had offered in a retreat there in the UK a number of years ago, I believe the Sangha was listening to one of my Dharma talks, which apparently they do. And in it, I was speaking about an old story um, about a clay Buddha and a golden Buddha and a wooden Buddha. And then she offered a poem that both links that old story and what we're speaking about these days in terms of loss in life. And so just to repeat, so you get the story, and hopefully this will call forward some questions for yourself in your own practice, maybe. the the sort of koan or the story is in 3 statements. A clay Buddha cannot pass through water. A gold Buddha cannot pass through a furnace. A wooden Buddha cannot pass through fire. So we'll just take a moment to open those up just a bit. A clay Buddha cannot pass through water. A clay Buddha, it'd be kind of ordinary and also really fragile. And sometimes we're so preoccupied with the ground of our vulnerable being, our nature as clay. The clay Buddha forgets that she's a Buddha, being so worried about being clay. Even you might think, well, if only I was made of, and then you have your list of the better qualities and other ways that you could come into the world instead of being ordinary dirt and clay. But this kind of acceptance of our vulnerability and our impermanence opens us to a reality that is held by a profound acceptance rather than some perfection. We're always hoping for a better way. A clay Buddha cannot pass through water, but a Buddha nonetheless. The second one, a gold Buddha cannot pass through a furnace. Sometimes we have these realizations. We have moments of opening, relief of our burdens, some sort of sanity, sobriety, clarity that comes, and we think, I'm golden. We realize our nature as golden, but we also begin to realize that our nature isn't, or that nature isn't permanent. And the grasping to be always a golden or always somehow perfected betrays the real essence of our realization. Only when we stop fleeing our impermanence and vulnerability do we realize Buddhahood or our fullness, our wholeness. So instead of being permanently trapped in clay, we want to be permanently enshrined in gold. But we have to let our gold be melted down in practice, back into the furnace. And what emerges then? Because there'll be moments of the furnace of our life, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's the loss of a parent, the loss of our livelihood, all challenges that are ongoing, in which our gold seems to melt. The third statement, a wooden Buddha cannot pass through a fire. So we remember and come back to the fact that we're vulnerable after all, but wood is a perfectly good material to carve out a Buddha. And carving is a nice image of what it's like to practice and take shape. And our Buddhahood becomes more visible. If we're a clay Buddha, we don't think we'll end up being made out of wood. We wish for something more enduring or more glamorous. But Buddhas are actually made out of ordinary materials, out of an ordinary life, like wood, and it's a perfectly fine quality. I won't repeat it today, but if you're interested, please go to the poem by David white, Faces at Braga, Braga. It's a lovely poem of his going to visit Buddhas carved out of wood in Tibet. There's a whole story to it, but it's quite beautiful. You might want to see it. A clay Buddha cannot pass through water. We're vulnerable, dissolvable, going back into our source, which is water. A gold Buddha cannot pass through a furnace. There'll be tests in life that will melt even our most beautiful realizations and our greatest capacities. And a wooden Buddha cannot pass through fire. In the end, we'll all be burned, completed, brought back to ash. But wood is a perfectly good material to carve out our life. And then passing away is another struggle. I was talking to Suzanne Kilkus, so many of you have met online, who was helping lead our retreat, which was sponsored by the Open Doors Zen community in Madison. And Suzanne was talking to me about being with her mom as she died. And even in a time when she thought her mom was no longer lucid, she said, I don't remember exactly, but she said something like, she mentioned to Suzanne how hard it was to die. And she said, it may be harder to die than it is to be born. And there are moments when it might feel like that, where we have to come back into our earthly, everyday, fleshy understanding of what it's like to be here and then to be gone. So with these three statements and the teachings that come from them, this is the poem that Trudy sent me a few days ago in reflecting on these teachings. Let's see, maybe I'll read it, but I might share my screen in a bit so you can take a look at it. We can look at it a second time. But first, just listen. A clay Buddha cannot withstand the rushing flow of water, returning to earth. A golden Buddha cannot hold itself whole within the searing heat of a furnace. A wooden Buddha burns to ash in a fire, becoming one with the embers. A flesh Buddha withstands life until it doesn't. Tempered in the black river of loss, which is in quotations, seared in the furnace of desire and heartbreak, and burned endlessly, burned by dissatisfaction, finding where it can bend, break, heal, continue until finally consumed by being alive. A flesh Buddha is made sacred by the act of living in a body that cannot ultimately withstand its own impermanence. So let me share that so you can see it. I'm not going to share my screen. Apparently, I'm not going to be able to do it because I've got a new computer and I didn't set the preferences properly. So I will read it one more time. I'm sorry about the pause. So you can just hear it again. And I'll send it to you. But a clay Buddha cannot withstand the rushing flow of water, returning to earth. A golden Buddha cannot hold itself whole within the searing heat of a furnace. A wooden Buddha burns to ashes in a fire, becoming one with the embers. But a flesh Buddha withstands life until it doesn't. tempered in the black river of loss, seared in the furnace of desire and heartbreak, and burned, endlessly burned by dissatisfaction, finding where it can bend, break, heal, continue, until finally consumed by being alive. A flesh Buddha is made sacred by the act of living in a body that cannot ultimately withstand its own impermanence. And reading the poem, I was so taken by its beauty and the settling into the sense of fleshiness and what it means to, what Dogen said, to offer a body and to give up a body. And I also want to add, if you don't mind, there's a phrase in quotation, the Black River of Loss, which Trudy's taken from a Mary Oliver poem some of you are familiar with, many of you, in Blackwater Woods. And I'll read that poem once also, just to echo what's in the middle of her poem, because it's a beautiful echo and speaks to the, I would say, the inconceivable aspect of this whole thing. And as Mary Oliver Wood offers us a vision from nature of the inconceivable nature of things. She says, look, the trees are turning their bodies into pillars of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the ponds, and every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I've ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this: the fires in the Black River of Loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. The fires and black rivers of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it. And when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. But these teachings about the clay Buddha and the gold Buddha and the wooden Buddha, all Buddhas, our nature is always a Buddha, whether we think we're lowly clay and too fragile, or golden and think we're better, or if we're just ordinary, shaping ourselves as wood. We come back to the fleshiness, our nature as a fleshy, human, embodied Buddha. And hopefully we can love each other in that mortal state and hold each other, even though we can't touch these days so much, but hold our love for each other down to our bones, knowing our life depends on it. Our life depends on each other. And when it comes time to let it go, to let it go. So these are the things I offer for your reflection today. And please, if you would, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the little hand you can raise if you'd like to connect. I've received more beautiful notes of condolence and care and love and generosity from people all around the world. So I certainly don't want to spend our time simply with another list of condolences, although you might offer them if that's part of what's in your heart. But I would love to actually speak to you about what's most true, what's most real for now. And I see we have one hand raised, so we'll begin.
Oh, hello.
There she is.
Hi.
Hi there.
Um,
Behind you.
yeah, I'm going to put this out here. I hope I can be seen. There we go. I didn't really expect I'd be called.
Well, there
First
you
of
are.
all,
First off, yeah.
I just found out today about your father,
Ah,
and I do want to start out with that. I just just sending you love,
thank you very much.
and I remember that you weren't able to see him, and I know how deeply you regret that. I'm
Yeah.
sending you love. That's all I can say.
And I'll say, just for the larger group, two things. One, in saying that to me, Sarah, you're also saying it to my sister and mother who are online,
Okay.
so they'll hear you. And that I was able through this medium to be there,
Oh,
even though
good.
I couldn't touch. The laptop was at the end of the bed on a table, and they were there. He was there, and for several hours we were through the whole process. So it was
Oh, I'm so
like
glad.
this, surprisingly intimate, even though I couldn't be there in the body.
Good.
I
I'm
say
so
that
happy to hear that.
so everyone understands that context too.
Good, good, good. Because that does matter. Yeah. Okay.
And how are you?
Oh, I'm pretty raw.
Yeah, you have a beautiful flower on your head.
I do, don't I? I didn't even realize that was still up.
Free to call on.
I was playing with it last night. It's a photo I took of a cactus on a walk the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, So I've never seen this done. This is the first one I've tuned into, but I've been to the inquiries,
Right.
in Austin. This is a little bit different. Um,
Well, we're in these two chairs facing each other.
um, so I'm continuing to get closer to
Excuse me.
my, the idea that I will be passing, that I'll be dying. And it's not a given yet. All the stones have not been turned over. So um, there's that. And I am just trying to, I feel like the gold Buddha right now.
Mhm.
That was a perfect description of where I am.
Mhm.
It was perfect. I'm kind of getting, unfortunately, I think to some degree I'm adding suffering to my suffering.
Mhm.
I'm, and it could just be in some ways a life review, and it needs to be done, and I'm coming out of it. I'll come out of it at some point. I think all of this has been a transformation, and I know it is, but this is a real tough part. And right now I'm taking this illness personally.
Mhm.
And there's a part of me that knows better. But one of the things about this particular cancer is it's supposed to be really difficult.
Mhm. Difficult
It,
at
it What's
physically
that?
physically painful, challenging.
Yeah, yeah. And so that obviously I'm really scared.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it personally
Mhm.
that I'm being, perhaps, I don't know, but given a hard death.
Yeah.
And
That's the part you don't know, but you're saying you're adding.
I no, I do. I have been told that. I have been told that.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing with that is making it about me
Um,
and taking it personally.
a necessary part to go through, isn't it? And by the way,
Oh,
it's okay to cuss.
oh, good. Did I cuss?
No, but you can. I
I
know
mean,
you.
you do know me. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, good. It'll probably come in there. Uh, so I'm sitting with that, and uh, um, I've had a few. I'm gonna snot all up over the place, and I don't have a Kleenex. I'll be right back.
Wish I could hand you one.
I do too. I've had a few days of wanting to come out of my skin. I don't know what to do with that. And I have been
Hold on to
meditating.
somebody else's skin.
What's that?
Hold on to someone else's skin.
Oh, okay.
That's part of it. And the other part is you might have to just throw a fit.
You've seen me throw those, haven't you?
Well, I think sometimes a fit's appropriate in situations like this. And it's like, when you have a little child and they're screaming and say they hate you and they're kicking and biting and, you hold them really super close and they keep saying they hate you until they don't and they collapse into the tears. It's kind of like that.
Flint, I don't know who to do that with. I
Well,
don't really want to inflict that on my husband.
that's right. Well, in a way, you're letting us hold you right now. It's not quite the same, I know, and you're not throwing a complete fit, but at least you're letting us know. And you might do it on your own. You might go out in nature and stomp around and throw things, but it's okay. If this is at that level, this is personal. And you can't stay there. You said a part of you understands that, but it's not wrong. It's just a piece you have to face. It's not what you want.
Well, yeah, I'm looking for a way out of it. you
Yeah,
know,
there's a way through it.
I have no idea what that would look like.
Letting yourself feel exactly how you feel and think what you think and letting yourself move through it, because what's what I'm offering you is a reminder of the faith that it will move and change, that it won't stay. If you go deeply
Okay.
into it, you're not going to be stuck there. You're going to pass through it.
Okay.
Just like each of the clay Buddha can't withstand the water and the gold Buddha the furnace, this is the furnace.
Yep.
And what's going to happen is it's got to melt. But the Buddhahood doesn't go anywhere, just the form.
I feel right now. I looked up the word humble or humility, humble, and it's the origin is something to do with going back to the earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, humus.
And, and that's how I feel right now. I feel incredibly humbled.
Yep. In the face of the great mystery.
And in the face of, I think, to some degree, my spiritual arrogance, I'm just punishing myself.
Well, do
And,
that as long as you need, but you can let it go whenever you're ready. I think that another a softer version of what you're saying is you're going to feel your regrets because that's part of grief.
Mm.
You're going to feel your resentments. You're going to feel your regrets. You're going to feel your appreciations. Those three pieces.
Yeah.
And that will move like a braid. You know, when we used to make those little things with three, you know, braid
Yeah. Yeah.
resentments and regrets and appreciations makes the final strand, you know.
So far, not many resentments, thank God.
Except that it's personal.
Except that it's personal.
It's
Yeah,
not.
that's right. I guess I do feel that.
Mm-hmm. But the regrets are what's coming up right now.
The regrets are what's coming
Let
up
them
right now.
come fully, because that's the only way you get through it. I don't mean hurt yourself, but let it
Yeah.
move. You
Okay.
know, you know, like when the river dams up against a bridge because all the stuff gets clogged. You want to let it move.
Okay. Okay.
And then if we need to talk more, we'll talk more, you know.
Okay. 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 Good. Well, the good thing I've been doing is I've been going out in the yard, weeding, and
Yep.
bought some plants, and I've been putting them in the ground and watering them every day and filling up the bird baths. And just trying to be, that's my little piece of nature right now.
Good. Good. Get back into the dirt. Humus.
Get
You
in
know,
the dirt. Yeah. 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 Uh, any ideas about what to do with this fear?
what do you do for a kid who's afraid? I mean, there's nothing fancy about it. You need some some condolences, you know, you need somebody to help you. You'd say, I'm afraid. And someone to not talk you out of it. Not say, oh, don't be afraid. Say, I know. Hang on.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm trying to talk myself out of it, thinking
How's that going for you?
it doesn't go too well.
No. You gotta, you're saying it now to, you know, almost 80 people. You're saying, I'm afraid. And all of them are going, I know, I can see. I wish it could be taken from you. We can't. What we can do is hold the fear with you. We can be a larger container for your fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. To take our love with you. As
Yeah.
it's like a mass of golden Buddhas coming to you. Imagine that.
Okay. Okay.
Your
I
artist,
love you.
imagine them. Love you too.
Okay. So
Bye
should
for
I
now.
bye for now?
Yes.
Hello?
Hey, Penny, I got you.
Oh, good. I'm actually live, huh?
Yes, you are.
Well, I know we just spoke yesterday, so it's good to be back today. But when you were talking about the beautiful clay Buddha and the golden Buddha and the wooden Buddha, of course, what came to my mind immediately was the Dharma wheel and how it's turning right now at every second. And right before I got on this call, I learned that the man who had built my little house in New Braunfels had passed away.
It's the house you're in right now.
Yes.
Mhm.
And he was such a incredible, lovely friend. He was one of those people, like every Christmas, he would send me a little poem he'd made. And he was just a contractor, you know. I mean, I didn't know him in any other way, but he had a beautiful little spirit. And, you know, I know he was only 62, and that's a
Yeah.
loss to his
Mhm.
family, great loss. And, but to each of us that he touched.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is the turning of the wheel, you know, it just
Yeah.
continually is turning, and it's darkness and it's light. And I also wanted to just mention to everyone that there are beautiful new signs of life around my house. Little baby wrens and baby titmouse and baby birds all coming to feed and have water, and they're unaware of the dangers lurking about and just flying about and bringing joy to each of us.
It's
And
hard to remember innocence these days, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
so
One
I
thing
don't
I suggest is go into your archives and look at the David White poem, House of Belonging,
okay.
after this, so you can remember your beautiful little New Braunfels house and the man who built it for you.
Oh, that's beautiful, Flint.
Mhm.
Thank you.
What was his name?
Sam Hoffman.
All right, Sam.
And this is one of the things he did when, I had a corgi named Sam. And at that time. And so when I finished the house and he opened the door for me to, walk in, he had built a dog house for Sam that had a Zen copper roof on it. In other words, that looked like a temple roof. And he had made it all out of copper. And it was the most precious
How
thing.
generous. Yeah.
And he had just made that because he knew how much I loved my little dog. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of person he was.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I don't want to take up any more time. I want to share this. So
Enjoy the little birds.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Flint.
Mhm. John,
Hi,
I haven't seen you in a while.
it has been a while. For one reason or another, different reasons, it's been too hard for me to get down to 38th Street and do inquiry. But
Sure.
this has made it easy, so I'm glad for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Sorry, my face is in shadow. Anyway, I know you won't judge me for that. All right. Okay. Anyway, previous lady was talking about fear. I had something surprise me about a week ago, because I've always thought in my head that I was not afraid of death. But right about bedtime, I had this sudden, strong fear of getting sick and then dying. And that surprised me. And then I started feeling that same thing again today, just during the meditation, as I was kind of opening up maybe my mind and my feelings. I thought, oh God, there's that terror. It's still there. And it's important to me to manage it because it reminds me of the terror I felt 15 or 20 years ago when I was suicidal. I don't want to go back to feeling suicidal. And so I'll be wanting to talk to my therapist about that, how to manage those feelings. But if you have any suggestions, I appreciate those too.
Any suggestions about the fear that's arising about death?
About the fear or how to manage it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know about suggestions. One thing that came to mind right away is that you're awash in it right now, John. When every single day on the news, all we hear is how many people have died,
Yes.
how vulnerable we all are, and how there's, any of us who have a vulnerability around this fear that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the perfect storm because there's an invisible thing that can visit you that you don't even know is coming, and suddenly you're sick and you could die.
Mm-hmm.
It feeds
Mm-hmm.
that kind of. So I just want you to be gentle with yourself, knowing that you're surrounded by this right now. And of course, it would call these old vulnerabilities back.
Mm-hmm.
What's important to have next door to them, old vulnerabilities come back, but all the ways that you've practiced and all the ways you've taken good care of yourself and all the good work that you've done on yourself over the years, set that right next to it. You don't have to push away the fear, but say, oh, here's fear, but here's what can meet it. Here's my own Buddha nature, my own stability, my own care. It doesn't make it go away, but it helps meet it in a different way.
I don't know if you can see, but I'm moved to tears.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
I am moved to tears
Yeah.
and cry.
Then it touches something.
Yes.
Let yourself, this is another piece that apparently you need, is to feel understood and cared for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those things matter when you're afraid. Just like when Sarah was talking, when we feel seen and heard and understood and cared for, it touches those places of fear. Because often the fear is when we find ourselves being very alone, cut off. And these
Mm-hmm.
a lot of how we are. So you're reaching out and you're connecting like this was really a wise step for you. I'm glad you did.
Well, thank you, Glenn. I appreciate your support.
Yeah, take our love with you, and all the people that are witnessing and supporting and caring for you, and remember my words and my face and this connection. Take it right in, okay?
Mm. All right.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. I'm finished now.
Okay. If there's anyone else that would like to raise their hand, you can. As always, in between, it's wonderful just to sit, enjoy the spaciousness, the quiet, the presence. Suddenly there's a flurry of raised hands. We may not get to everybody, but we'll do our best. Just attending to your own breathing. Bridget?
Hi, Flint. It's so good to see you. My deepest condolences for your loss. And of course, the last time I was saw an inquiry with you was when we were together at the retreat, and I was observing Sarah have her inquiry with you there. And so we were all within a short distance of one another. So
You could reach over and touch us.
yeah. So, but this is a good alternative. My fears are different, and that is that I had met someone a few weeks before I came to the retreat in New Mexico, and then afterwards we continued to text and correspond because everyone was sheltering at home. And then, since neither of us had done anything other than go to the grocery store or pick up something at the pharmacy, then we decided we could see each other for supper. And I guess I have the joyous, happy feeling of feeling like I'm falling in love again. But this time I'm terribly afraid. And it's all this feeling of just the fragility of feeling my feelings. And it's exhilarating but scary. And I thought you could comment on that, because whatever form Buddha takes, it seems to offer me chances to be really hold both happiness and sadness at the same time.
I don't know if it's sadness. I think it's the thrill of standing on the edge.
Well, it certainly feels like that.
When
Yeah,
you walk up to the edge again,
right.
you know, you've had a couple of important enduring relationships, and you've lost a husband to death, and so you know
Yeah,
what you're getting into.
right,
One of the things that most people don't appreciate, because it sounds harsh to say it, but it's important, is that all relationships are terminal
right.
by definition. That's not
Correct.
bad news. That's the poignant, beautiful, beautiful news of appreciate every moment that we have. And so for you to open your heart again to someone and feel connected is that joyous energy, but that flood also brings the vulnerability and the shakiness. If I was to put you in the laboratory and hook you up to machines that would measure your physiology,
Right.
the excitement and the fear would register the same.
Oh, okay.
What you do up here, of course you're going to be afraid. You're old enough and have been around the block enough to know you should be afraid, but not because it's terrible, just because, wow, this is real.
Yeah.
And we're fleshy Buddhas, and this is how it's going to go. And let that just move right on back into excitement and maybe back into fear, and bring that energy into the relationship. Don't keep it out of the relationship so you get all fixed up and go back.
Okay. Okay.
This is what I was talking to my sister about before inquiry today, because I was putting together my notes, and I also looked at a picture of my dad that I thought about sharing, which I can't now online, but and it made me weep. And so I thought, well, maybe I should talk to Kathy before, you know, to kind of get myself back together enough to do this.
Right.
And she reminded me, she said, no, the vulnerability and emotion is fine. People will appreciate it, you know.
So, well, as always, I appreciate your words of wisdom, and I know you and
Even the shaky, fearful parts.
yeah,
Otherwise, you're going to miss out on the fullness of the experience.
right.
And all of us are an age like, girl, don't miss out. Enjoy every bit of it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it will go. But right now it's here, so enjoy it.
All right.
Because someday, well, the hardest part of this, there were hard parts of watching my dad get older, watching him fail, watching him die, all that. The hardest part was watching my mother kiss him goodbye for the last time
Yeah.
as they took his body away.
Yes.
Because we know that somebody's going to be that one.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So enjoy him while he's here.
All right. Thank you.
Here comes Jim, I can tell. If he would
Hey,
just,
Flint.
I just don't see your face, but I hear you.
I'm gonna try something. Pull myself closer to the router.
There you go. Now we see you walking.
So while I walk here, move outside.
On your back porch.
So I've been holding space for a number of people who have been really ill for about the last 6 months, and which I'm happy to do. They wasn't something I chose, but it was something that came to me. And I guess what is challenging my challenge right now is dealing with the angst of holding their fear, being part of it. I can't do anything about it, but be there. But,
Welcome to my world.
huh?
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're in my thoughts a lot in relationship with that. I hope you sleep better than I've been sleeping.
I slept really well last night, but yeah, all I'm saying is when we're in that position where a lot of people are coming to us and asking us to hold things with them,
Right.
a certain kind of gift and a certain kind of challenge. Either way, it's a curriculum to walk, see what we learn from it. I'm more accustomed to it. It's my job. There's a just as a
So I guess the helpful hint would be from you, I would hope would be dealing with the angst that comes with it. I do standing, I do my sitting, I do all of that. I do my breathing, and still
it's why wouldn't you feel an impact? It's normal. It's normal to feel the impact.
yeah.
It's what you do with it. If you didn't feel it, I would worry about you.
I'd be, yeah, I'd be worried too.
It's whether do you make it worse by either judging yourself or elaborating it, or you just let yourself ride the waves like you do in a form, you know?
Yeah. I guess it's just been very intense recently.
Yeah,
And I know it's been intense for you recently, and for those kinds of reasons,
let
it
yourself
seems like,
talk to Robin, talk to other friends. Just talk about it. A lot of times will help with this kind of thing because we need to speak these things. Because in a way, you're already grieving. You're doing anticipatory grief. It's already moving.
yeah,
Even before people are gone, it's starting. And just like in grief, we have to tell the stories over and over and over, it seems, until we don't. Take in love everywhere you can find it.
yeah, I'm trying to do that as much as possible. I guess the only thing that is hard for me to deal with is the anxiety and the fear that comes up in the middle of the night in your dreams, and it's stuff that you have not that you have control of any of this, but
Oh, but I understand. It comes from a deeper place.
yeah,
And most of that, from a lot of us, I don't know if this is right for you, is a way in which it stirs our own fear of our own death.
yes,
Middle of the night, that's what's usually coming, no matter what its form.
yeah, yeah.
So there's that. So that's the other piece to look at.
Yeah.
Speak about.
And the second arrow of feeling like I'm not the one that's actually in pain in the sense, or it's a false story, but it's the story that I, will tell myself as,
Jim, you've practiced long enough to step back and be of service to another.
right.
Also, at the same time, no, there's no separation. So it is your pain.
Yeah.
And both things are true.
Both things are true. Yeah.
And also, before we go, looking at your shirt, I just have to say, my dad's 1972 T-top Stingray was his pride and joy until it wasn't, till he couldn't get out of it anymore.
Oh. Well, I hope it found a new life also.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you so much.
Did you get Sylvia back? I don't know if she came back again or not. We're about at the end, but I know she dropped off, so I thought I might check in.
Hello?
There she
Oh
is.
my God, it came on.
Yes, it did. Hi, Sylvia.
I didn't believe that it was going to come on.
Yeah, I noticed you had little technical difficulties, and so we're close to the end of our time, but I don't want to miss out seeing you.
Oh, thank you. I didn't want to miss seeing you either.
Yeah.
It's been a grand inquiry.
Oh,
I think I relate to the clay Buddha because I am awash with water, as you can see, all the time.
yeah,
This
yeah.
comes unexpectedly.
Mhm.
So, but I'm fine, really.
Yeah.
And I thank you so much for this inquiry. Are you going to keep doing them?
Yeah, for now, as long as Appamada is not open for foot traffic business, we might as well keep doing this. And so that means certainly through May, probably through June. We'll see.
Thank you.
So keep
Thank you.
coming back. And
I will. I will.
it's good
If the tech gods let me.
yes, of course.
I'll be here whether you see me or not. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. And it looks like we are probably going to have to end since we're just a minute past our closing time. Thank you so much, everyone who's been here, who's contributed both by coming online and those who contribute mightily by holding the space. It's really important. And we'll go ahead and end. I believe the coordinator might have something else, but let's say the 4 practice principles one time before we end. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Hope to see you next week.
Thank you, Flint. Thank you all for joining today for this beautiful and potent inquiry. I wanted to share the Appamada website with you. Maybe you can see my screen here. And just bring up this beautiful message that Peg has written about contributions, and I mostly wanted to just read this beautiful sentence here. Generosity is a fundamentally relational activity. It cannot be practiced alone. It establishes connections that are conduits for energy, imagination, care, appreciation, support, encouragement, and attention. And I feel that that's what we all have enjoyed about inquiry today. So just to show you that the Appamada website, the contribute page, is where you can make contributions. And then if you want to make specific, Donna, for teachers, that's here on the right. So thank you all very much for your time and your generosity. See you next week.